Okay, I'm trying to send out the link. Give me a second. Just give me one second. Let me send out the link. Then we could get started. Hopefully I'm not getting a lag. If I'm getting a lag, let me know. Because I'm not using XSplit right now. I wanted to use XSplit, but I'm just going to try to work off my webcam. They took off the Google Hangouts from they took out Hangout aspects, so I can't screen share. So give me a second. Let me know if it's lagging too. I'm trying to send out this link, so give me 1 second. Okay, got it. Get some people in here so we can eat some breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Get some good breakfast. Okay. I'm gonna touch on a few things. I'm not gonna be long today, I promise you. But I just wanted to touch on a few things that I think be beneficial, things that we can take and implement it in the world, implement it in our lives, our daily lives. And I got something juicy too that I'm gonna save at the end for later as well. So just give me 1 more second, please. 1 more second, and then we'll get started. I was thinking about using my headphones too to clear up the audio with it. If y'all can hear me, let me know. But I think for the most part, I think we should be getting away. But these are pretty cool, so I like to use those when I'm doing my gaming. But give me 1 second. All right. Okay. So let's get started. Out to a few people. But just giving glory, all honor. I just wanted to do a quick live video. And just build one-on-one, talk a little bit, especially because I've been seeing some things, and no, I'm not going to talk about coronavirus all day or nothing like that, because frankly, people just been talking about it too much anyway. And that's where the whole fear hysteria is coming in, people bugging out. I done seen plenty of videos of people online going to stores just so they can make a video. It's like, so no, I'm not going to really spend too much time talking about that. But I really want to hone in and focus on a lot of that, what I've been seeing in the community as far as new people coming into their identity of who they are and coming into the knowledge. And then they try to tell their family members or their loved ones like, oh, hey, this is what we got to do. And they're not even getting it. They're not receiving it. They're looking at you a certain type of way, and they're almost calling you that you're in a cult or things like that. I've only been in this walk, I want to say I'm going on my 3rd year now, so all praises for that. But I've seen a lot of people fall to the wayside because their family members, and I'm mainly talking about like younger Israelites or younger people, because those are the ones where you still living with your parents or you still living with your mother or your father, and you talking about, hey, I'm not going to eat this pork anymore. I'm not going to, celebrate Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Things like that, where I see in the community where a lot of people is like hindering their faith almost. It's like, man, can I go through with this? Or, man, they're going to cut me off. My family's going to cut me off. They're looking at me a certain type of way, calling you Muslims and cults and things like that. So I kind of want to touch on that topic a little bit, you know what I'm saying, just so we can get this information out. And also, even if this can be going on in your own household, where sometimes our children are less receptive to hearing the truth and things like that. I know I have 2 young children and they don't live with me. So I have to really go overboard because their mothers are not teaching them scripture or teaching them morals and things like that. They're still eating unclean foods and things like that. So when they come around me, it's my job as a parent to show them, hey, don't do this and don't do that. And that's the best way to do it at an early age. But a lot of these teenagers, I'll say, I've met teenagers before too, in the truth, and I tell them this is the hardest thing for you because the world is going 100 miles an hour. All your friends gonna be doing this and that, going to parties, going to concerts, things of that nature, and you're 19, 20, 17 years old, and it's like, well, I want to go, but then it's like, well, wait, that's kind of wicked. Y'all going to get drunk. Y'all going to do this. You don't have the Apocrypha. This is an insertion of those books, part of books of the King James Bible that they took out. And we don't have it as far as in the what we call the canon. But I wanted to read a scripture in here that I found pretty interesting as far as going on with this topic, because a lot of our people not really gonna get this. And I'll just read this here. It says, for he provided, wait, where do I want to start at? Okay, we're gonna go to Wisdom of Solomon. I'm sorry, I didn't let you guys know where I'm at. Wisdom of Solomon 3:16. So it says, as for children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection. I'm going to read that again. It says, as for children of adulterers, they shall not their perfection. And the seed of the unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. For though they live long, yet shall they be regarded as nothing, and their last age shall be without honor. So, you know, a lot of times people scoff at you as far as like when you bring out the word to them and things like that. Like I know I've heard this plenty of times where it says, my grandmother ate pork all her life and she didn't die. God didn't kill her. So what you mean? Or my uncle smoked his whole life. Nobody killed him. He lived a good life. What do you mean? And you come against these type of arguments and things like that. And that's exactly what the scripture's saying. Check this out. It says, or if they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. For horrible is the end of an unrighteous generation. Now, these scriptures are scary because sometimes people take life for granted, as we like to see a lot. And a lot of people try to get away with certain things that they always do or like to do in their spare time. You see what I'm saying? And our family members are usually the ones we keep closest to us in heart. So it's like, hey, I'm trying to give you some good news. I'm trying to share some information. You're doing it all wrong. But they don't want to hear that. So God has plans for them. And you got to think about it too, because we were also sinners in a way before we came into what we call the truth or the light or being baptized or reborn. So we have to understand that we have to give our loved ones time to come into this truth or this knowledge. We can't force feed it down their throat. All we can do is show by our actions, not by the words. You can talk to them all you want. Out some of our people, our younger people walking in this truth, how to go about speaking to our loved ones, or some of our older members of the faith who contend with younger teenage children, right? Being rebellious and things of that nature, because these things happen. And it's a test of faith. It could almost be a test of faith almost. because the devil know he can attack our children. So let's go get 2 Peter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 10. And it says, but chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness. So these are children or our family members. They walk in the lust of uncleanness, right? And it says, and they despise government. The government is the laws, or what we call the Bible laws. That says they despise them, because when we go tell them, hey, don't do this or don't do that, I don't want to, man, get out my face. You know, don't nobody got time for all of that. You can save your own breath, right, by not even trying to do that or get those type of things out. You see what I'm saying? Let your walk show them. That's how you teach them, right? Because look at this. It says, presumptuous are they, they're self-willed, and they that are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. And that's what black people do all the time. They almost glorify their evil. They almost kind of magnitude it and brag about it, like, yeah, I did this last night, I did that last night. You see what I'm saying? The Bible is telling us these are the spirits of uncleanness. This is the spirit of darkness, or just that cloak over their face that they have. Right? Watch this. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusations against them before the Lord out of pity, right? But it says this, but these are natural brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed. They speak evil things that they understand not, and they shall utterly perish in this, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. You know why people love to riot in the daytime, right? It says spots and blemishes they are, meaning they're like spots in body. And it's saying that sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. And they have eyes full of, in the heart, they have exercised with the covetous practices. They are cursed children. And there goes that word cursed children again. You see what I'm saying? And the thing about that is, before you come into the light, you got to be in the darkness. And like I said earlier, all of us was in sin before. All of us. So there's no point of beating up your mother, or, you know, running away, you know, from your family and things like that. If you were close enough and respectful enough, and your family loves you enough, they will respect your ways and to say, hey, no, I just, you know, I won't eat that. Or no, you know, you don't got to get me nothing for Christmas. You don't got to, you see what I'm saying? Because these things are reason for hatred to be amongst us and as a family member, as a community. And see, the thing what goes into this, what our reassurance is that Yahshua or Yahushua spoke about people hating us in his name's sake. Right? And he also speaks about they hated him first before they even hated you, which he was talking about the world. But we say what our people, our family is in the world. You see what I'm saying? So these are just little reminders that we need to remember as far as trying to force feed or shove. Let's go get one more. I'm sorry. Let's go get Mark 3:13. But these are just little reminders and tidbits that we just have to make sure that if your family member just don't get it at that time, you're not supposed to condemn them to hell. You're not supposed to say, oh, well, you're a bad child and you got to get out of my house and things like that. You have to give those type of things time to marinate, let your actions show. And over time, you will see the results. Because I've seen them before. When I first woke up, I was trying to force this whole Bible down people's throat. Like, here, you can't use that. And then I was like, man, these people ain't getting it, or an argument or breakout, or you get what I'm saying? But see, the thing about it is, though, we can't let that deter us from speaking about the truth. Because then if you get so down and say, well, I tried with him, or I tried with her, or I tried with him, or I tried with her, and it didn't work. You see they not changing. Now you like, well, I just got to give up then. I can't say nothing then, because what? It's a point where you're saying, oh, now I can't, get it going, or now I can't get it right, and things of that nature. We got to have faith. Just because they didn't get it don't mean you got to give up spreading the gospel or spreading the good news. You're just going to hold it all in. You see what I'm saying? And then and the thing about it is, and I'm not going to get into that today, but the scriptures talk about how we're supposed to be studying and be ready to answer. We're not supposed to be going out and telling them all this and that. Let them come to you and say, hey, I noticed you had on those fringes, or you was wearing a dress or a hair wrap, or why'd you change your clothes? And then that's when you should be ready to speak, seasoned with salt, so that you can be able to answer all questions with grace and sincerity, not forcing it down nobody's throat. You see what I'm saying? Because that is what triggers the thought or the mind process of somebody like, oh, okay. Then they're going to start seeing the blessings come pouring left and right. I said, they doing something right. All the time I see when people always tell me things, man, I envy this and I envy that about you. I said, brother, you can do the same thing. Isn't it like I done did certain things where I done changed dramatically, and these are small, minute things as far as coming together and getting together as a nation of people so we can be respected among the earth again. You see what I'm saying? Because on the earth, they said this is what's supposed to be practiced. Don't some people break the acronym for Bible as basic instructions before leaving earth? Or I've heard that craziness before. They said the acronym for Bible is basic instructions before leaving earth, or something of that nature. Now, if that's true, then why do people hate it? You see what I'm saying? And that's the whole strong delusion. So let's go get Mark 3:13. I want to go to Mark 13:13. Before we get into the juicy stuff that I wanted to talk about later. Okay, it says Mark 13:13. Now, this is encouraging right here, because this is Yahweh Shah speaking. He says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. You see what I'm saying? So we have to endure, because you're going to be hated by people that you love, right, for Christ's name's sake. And don't nobody like being hated and things like that. But guess what? We have to endure. That's what it say. So how do you endure? You get thick skin. You put on your army of the Lord, or army of God. You know what I'm saying? Your breastplate of righteousness, and all these stories that were taught to us in Sunday school and back then and things of that nature. That's what we got to do. All right. Praying for our kids as well is another tool that we need to use. You see what I'm saying? And things of that nature. So I hope the overall message got across with that point. Like I said, I didn't want to be too long on that aspect of it. I just know that and hope that this video can be shared on somebody that can use it as far as going through household struggles with children, or household struggles with, or powers of struggle with obedience and things of that nature, which is things that we are going to be attacked by, because we know Hashatan will attack your children, and he will attack you at different areas, like in the book of Job, where you can't be killed, but he has the ability to put you through trials and tribulations that may or may not deter your faith and your. So we just need that spiritual edification as far as that matter. But now the second portion that I wanted to get into, though, with the live stream before I end it, because I don't want to be too long. Let me see. I forgot to set my clock forward on here. Heard me or watched me teach before. I like to deal with the whole Bible. I don't like to deal with parts of it or bits and pieces of it. I like to deal with the whole book. So I do understand that, certain topics do not grant you salvation or grant you, certain things like that. But I do like to dig into esoteric portions of the Bible, which are in this text, and I feel like they're interesting, because when I look at the Bible for what it's worth and what the word is saying, then I go and watch a movie and I see things thrown in the movies where it's almost being depicted as it's fake. And if you've been studying with me, we all know that Hollywood is what? The acacia wood in the desert that grows without rainfall. And that wood, they would always make their magic wands or their staffs or their scepters, right? That they talk about in the Bible. They would make those staffs out of acacia wood. And another name for acacia wood was Hollywood. So that's why they name all their movies Hollywood. And you see certain messages and esoteric things in the Bible, like, for example, if we could turn to the New Testament real quick, I want to start there. Put that right there. I want to go to Matthew 17. And maybe you guys can leave some comments on this as well. If I need help reading this, I'm not sure, but it says certain things like this. Okay, so we're in Matthew 17:1. And it says, after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into an high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. So just reading those two verses alone, we see that Christ had the ability to make his face shine like the sun. It ain't talking about his clothes, because if we turn over to Luke, right, let's just go get it, 9:29, it says what? Luke 9:29. And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistening. So anybody that knows anything about your countenance, it means your body. Okay, so this ain't talking about his clothes, or it said his raiment shift, but that's still speaking about something changing, right? A man having the ability to change or alter matter. And it said it shined like the light. And what was interesting in the Bible, that this also took place in the Old Testament, where Moses or Moshe was speaking to the children of Israel on the mountain, and they were afraid to speak with him because his face shone like the sun. So what the heck is going on? And that's how I like to look at it and things like that, because those things are interesting, right? But my point that I want to prove to you guys is that Christ had the ability to alter matter. And it's all in the text. He had the ability to make himself look like somebody else. And the best example I could give is if you're a comic book fan or a movie fan, for example, like I always say, they use it right in the movies. X-Men character by the name of Mystique. And if you don't know who Mystique is, Google the name Mystique from X-Men. And she has blue skin, I think like red hair, but she has the ability to metamorph or change into anybody she like to look like a twin or a replica of this person. The same concept, I think, is in Mortal Kombat. It's a dude, one of those bosses called Shang Tsung. And he has the ability to steal souls. And when he takes your soul, he can now emulate your flesh or be you in the eyes of everyone else, even though he's someone else. This type of, I guess, power. And I'm just trying to use different examples to hit different crowds or different listeners to try to explain them what I'm talking about. But the Bible talks about that even before these people had ideas to put these in movies or video games. And it's in the scriptures about who the Bible calls Christ, right? And it just said that he just did that right there. And it's in different places too. Like if we turn to St. John, the 18th chapter, and I'll probably be finishing up soon because I got to go hit the gym, get my morning workout in, but I just wanted to get a morning breakfast in. in the morning scripture read with you guys as far as like sharing new content, because I'm gonna start putting this thing out on the internet, and hopefully we can share these topics or have good debates like I've debated brothers as far as like on the social platforms. So maybe I can have some of them come on and engage, and we could just speak on certain topics. But let's go to St. John's 18 and I want to go St. John's 20. Matter of fact, we'll start at St. John's 21. That's a good one. You got, like I said, you guys can, if I'm reading the scriptures wrong, please let me know. I'm not like some type of rabbi who, but tell me if I see this incorrectly, because it's speaking here in St. John's 21:1. It says, after these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, and on the wise showed himself. So it's giving you the context that he's showing himself. It said it twice in there. He's showing himself to the disciples. Okay. I'll skip past verse 2 because it's naming the disciples. We'll go to verse 3. So it says, Simon Peter saith unto them, I go a fishing. And they said unto him, we also go with thee. So he's talking about the disciples going with them. And they went forth and entered into a ship immediately. And that night they caught nothing. So they went fishing, but they caught nothing, right? So verse 4 says, but when the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. So in verse 1, it said he showed himself to them, and he showed himself to them on that morning. Here's a backup scripture where it says just that Jesus stood on the shore, but it says the disciples didn't know that it was Jesus. So now we can either say they were too far away to see that that was Christ, or my hypothesis was they couldn't recognize him because he didn't look who they know. So let's play double devil's advocate and see going forward which stands true or beholding. Verse 5 says, then Jesus said unto them, children, have ye any meat? So now, if they were far, far away, I don't think Christ could have been able to speak that far to them. Now, he could have did a holler like, sometimes when you take your hands and you make that type of bullhorn or foghorn type of element. So that's still in play. Let's be fair. That's still in play. Nonetheless, it's kind of the seesaw's kind of tipping here, because it says, and they answer him, no. And he said unto them, cast thy net on the right side, and ye shall find. So they cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw, for it was a multitude of fishes. So see now, right here, we just see Jesus or Yahweh Shai having the ability to overpower nature, because these fish committed suicide and jumped into the nets of the fishermen, in so much that it says it was a multitude. They couldn't hold how many fish jumped in this net. So now we see another attribute or power or gift that this man possesses. Let's just not skim over that, okay? That's what it says. Now the next verse says, therefore that disciple whom Jesus loveth said unto Peter, it is the Lord. Now when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he girded his fisher's coat unto him, for he was naked, and did cast himself. So now verse 7 is very interesting here, because it says Peter loved the Lord the most, right? Now put yourself in Peter's shoes. If you love somebody the most, your husband, your child, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it is, you will know what that person looks like. The Bible testifies of Peter knowing what Christ looked like, because he was there when when they had meetings in the wilderness. He was there when Christ was about to be crucified. He was there at the Last Supper. So he's seen this man and he knew how this man looked. Denied him 3 times. You see what I'm saying? He loved this man. Yet he didn't know that that was him standing at the seashore, butt naked, talking to him. And then what makes it more interesting is that it says also in the same verse that he cast his fisher's coat to him because he was naked. Now think about this. If you have a coat in your house, you can go outside and try this experiment out. But ball your coat up and throw it as far as you can. Just throw it as far as you can and see how far it goes. What you're going to find out is that it doesn't go that far. So now we're talking about that boat being close enough to as far as you can throw a coat. Right? Because that's what it says. It says he threw his coat because he knew, and he was standing there butt naked and he had to cover him up. They didn't know who they was because he had the power to do these things, y'all. Now watch this to even prove it further in the same book. If you go to the 18th chapter, right? It says when we'll start at verse 2. Okay, St. John 18:2. Now, just to give you context, you know what? I'll just start at 1, just so we can make sure we read it in context. So it says, when Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth and the disciples over the brook of Cedron, where was a garden, and into the which he entered with his disciples. And Judas, so it says Jesus was there with his disciples. It says, and Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place, for Jesus oftentimes resorted thither with his disciples. So it says Judas knew that this is where Jesus went, to his favorite garden with his disciples. So he knew he was going to be there. Verse 3 says, Judas then, having received a band of men of officers, a angry mob, because it says there were chief priests, officers, and Pharisees, and they had lanterns and torches and weapons. So they was coming to do something to Jesus, right? That's what it say right here. Because remember, we know how the story goes. Judas betrayed Jesus. They had to set him up. You know what I'm saying? So it's that story. Now it says, Jesus therefore in all things that should come unto him went forth and said unto them, whom seek ye? So Jesus walks up to this angry crowd, chief Pharisees, officers with lanterns and weapons, and he says, who are you looking for? Whom seek ye? Right? In verse 5, they answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus said unto this angry mob, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. So now we see here that he told them that this is me. They said they're looking for him. And it also says Judas was there with them, who knew what Christ looked like, right? Now watch this. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore ye seek me, let these go their way, that the same might be fulfilled which he spoke. Of them which thou gavest me have I lost none. Hold on, I think I went too far. Oh, no, I'm on point. Okay. And it says, then Jesus said unto Peter, put up thy sword and thy shield. Hold on, where am I reading that? Let me get my glasses. Give me 1 second. Yes, I wear glasses too. Don't nobody but not say nothing. Okay, here I am in verse 5. And so they said, they answered him, and they answered Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus said unto them, I am he. And Judas was also there with him. So we talked about that. Verse 6. As soon then as he has said unto them, I am he, they went backwards and fell to the ground. Then he asked them again, whom seek ye? And they said, we're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. Why are they keep saying they looking for somebody who they know that they was already going to get? And why did he just knock them down on the ground and make them go backwards? How did he do that? Interesting, right? Verse 7. They asked him again, whom seek ye? And he said, Jesus of Nazareth. He said, I've told you that if I am he, therefore ye that seek me, let these go their way. You see that? I'm having a hard time finding out how this angry mob and all the disciples and none of them knew what Jesus looked like. Then he knocked them down on the ground and just a whole bunch of esoteric type of energies and things that are in the text, and we need to deal with them a little more. Just like I was talking to a brother the other day, and he was speaking about the whole 5G technology that's coming out, and how it potentially can almost kill people because they're actually playing with the radio and electricity waves that are in the Earth's atmosphere. And what's interesting is that it's almost like being enforced everywhere, because in the field of war, if someone releases a detrimental as far as those type of catastrophes that'll be on the realm of what's to transpire. And the whole 5G element is what people are saying almost the coronavirus is over there. And you know, the Asians are one of the go-getters or front runners of technologies that they